Now that's data.
I've never sexed a cockroach either.
Everything's gonna go perfect, or the whole thing's gonna just blow up.
Like, Mom, training a pigeon.
I have the weirdest job.
PC lower letter? What does that mean?
I don't think I'm ready to go down this rabbit hole.
Smells like another job. Well done.
Cut! Genius!
Would you pour the wine, please?
It's gonna be a gun party.
Good grouping.
Holy crap, that looks awesome! Start the show!
Welcome to Cordkillers, our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you, my friends, are armed with the information you need to be able to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, on whatever device you want, without any well, NBC doesn't give you the rights to watch that on your mobile device. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood. Hey Tom, how do you feel about properties that have characters that people used to know from a different property, but now all of a sudden they're doing a totally different, brand new IP? You know, like the Grand Tour or White Rabbit. Seems like independent artists are not so under the sway of large networks that get to tell people what and where to go and what to do.
Of course, you are referring, I believe, entirely to the White Rabbit Project trailer that we just saw at the beginning of the show, arriving on Netflix December 9th with Mythbusters alums Carrie Byron, Tori Bellucci, and Grant Imahara, right?
Yeah, and only that. It's the only example I can think of. But I'll tell you what, man, that trailer looked amazing, and it's great. Good for them. Good for them. Couldn't happen to better people.
Before we bring in our guest, let me just say applause to people who go independent and instruct other people on how to do cool things on the internet, Brian.
Yeah. And I think that's as far as we can safely discuss this. Why don't we bring in our guest?
Scott Johnson is a cool person, and he's joining us today from the Frog Pants Network, of which we are all a member. How's it going, Scott?
Hey, it's good to be here, guys. Really happy to be here. I followed the White Rabbit right to this show tonight.
Oh, that's great. Well done. Well done.
Did you take the blue pill?
Tom, I'm a little bit confused because I see all this stuff on our show prep sheet. For those of you guys who wonder, yes, we do actually prep for the show, but I don't know why we bothered to have any of that. It seems like you could have just written, "We've got Scott tonight," and
yeah.
we're in for an action-packed hour.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to have you, Mr. Johnson. Are you ready, sir? Are you sitting comfortably?
Well, Mr. Johnson was my father's name, but I'll take it anyway. And yes, I'm sitting comfortably, and I can't wait. Listen, there's this little itch in the back of my neck that says that I need to tell Schwood things in spoiler in time outside of the show. Some things I need to say to him about Westworld.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's going to be a good one.
Listen, if you're not a patron, you might
time.
want to get in on the Patreon action real fast so you can get that spoiler in time a little faster. In the meantime, time for our primary target. AT&T gave the details on its over-the-top service or internet television service or cord cutters service. The industry hasn't really entirely settled on a buzzword for it, but basically DirecTV Now launches November 30th in the United States. All you need is an internet connection to watch it on your iOS device, your Android device, your Fire TV device, your Chromecaster device, your browser. They don't have it on Roku yet. They say the Roku app will come in 2017. They are even including a year of the service free if you buy a Echo TV. They've got all the major content outlets except CBS, and CBS owns Showtime, so they don't have CBS or Showtime. They'll let you do 2 streams simultaneously. No cloud DVR, although they say that's going to come in 2017 as well. Broadcast networks, just like PlayStation Vue and Sling, only in markets where the network owns and operates the television station. Other markets have to be negotiated independently. NFL not available on mobile. That's also true of Sling and PlayStation Vue because Verizon has those rights. But here's the big one. $35 a month for your base package of 60-plus channels. They have 4 tiers, though, and the $60 a month, 100-plus channel package will be available for $35 a month for a limited time. And HBO and Cinemax are only $5 a month each as an add-on.
Okay. On the one hand, great. On the other hand, this sounds an awful lot like cable. Yeah, get the big bundle at a discounted entry-level price, and then later the price is going to go up. On the way. granted, it's going to be a lot easier, and hopefully that the terms are going to be like. Do you have to do a contract?
No, no contracts, no credit check, cancel anytime.
All right, well, I'm feeling better about it. If it's that easy to hop on and hop off.
There's stuff here to feel okay about, and I know you guys talk about this on the show all the time, so I don't want to beat this dead horse into the ground, but these services, PlayStation Vue and Sling and now this, it's really just starting to feel like somebody snuck into the party wearing cord cutting clothes, but it rips off his coat and says, ta-da, I'm cable. I'm in a different package now. Because in a lot of ways, this stuff just doesn't change. It's the same set of channels. It's the same sort of arrangement. It's the same kind of commercial time I'm going to have to watch. Like, all of that stuff remains. And I'm also paying more for it than I would for pared down services like Hulu or Netflix or whatever. I think I'm okay with them as these being available to people and a new solution, but I really do worry that we're just going from cable to cable minus the cable.
Well, here's where you could take heart. Keep in mind, the reason that cable happened is because they had the content that we wanted to experience, and they came up with a very simple way to create this all-you-can-eat buffet. The reason cable have been total D-bags for the last 10 years is because of their intractable agreements. They signed these 5-year agreements to exclusivity, promising that they'll only be in this type of thing. So they've had to fight this. I guarantee you, and we've talked about this for years, Tom, where it's like, the folks actually working at the cable company know it's a raw deal. They know it's a crappy thing, but they have to run out their contracts. And what you're seeing now is something much more palatable to the consumer, where the how you watch is fundamentally changed. And the what you watch, look, they're God love them. There are people who just leave DIY Network on all the time. I'm not that person, but somebody out there cares about that.
I think the biggest downside to this isn't that it sounds like cable, right? I mean, a la carte is the one thing that none of these services are actually giving us, like in true form. But short of that, this is giving you a cheaper service, $35 for 60 plus channels. Good luck finding that as a solid rate, not an introductory rate. $35 for 60 plus channels gives you BBC, AMC, ESPN. Like, you will not find that on cable. This is also instantly a nationwide competitor. Nobody has to come put a satellite on your roof. Nobody's like, oh, you're not in the Comcast district. You'll have to call Spectrum because you're in the Spectrum neighborhood. Like, this is available anywhere you have enough bandwidth. Now, granted, that is not necessarily a guarantee for a lot of people, but there's more competition now because PlayStation Vue, Sling TV, and DirecTV Now. You have 3 options in every market that has internet in the United States. You don't have to sign a contract. There's no like, oh, I'll sign up for a year. Oh, and then my price goes up. You cancel anytime. You don't need a credit check. Like, this is so much more consumer friendly. And Brian, I mean, when you brought up that point about cable having to convince people, we forget cable was competing with free. Like, cable was coming into your house going like, hey, wouldn't you like to pay for television? And there were plenty of people like, why would I ever do that? Why would I pay? And so they had to come up with these channels. And what's happening here is they're saying, hey, we know you love those channels. We know you want AMC and ESPN and all those to watch live. We're going to bring them to you. DirecTV now needs to get DVR. Like, that is the standard that will help these services be able to replace the people who are used to regular cable television.
That's a really good point, because it was so long ago that cable seemed like an extravagant thing. But and you and I had the shared experience of living in Austin, only being able to watch Fox. Fox was the only VHF channel that actually came in. Fox 7 was all you
I was able to pull in UPN when I lived on 21st Street, like just.
Yeah.
Like I could get it to record my Star Treks, but yeah, that's about it.
But look, however we got here, at least we're here. Look at this. How many different cord cutting options are there? We are now retiring the idea that, well, I love blank, and if I have to become one of you weird cord cutters, I won't be able to get blank. That's virtually untrue universally at this point, with the exception of a few sports things. And I'm going to make the suggestion that if you make the lifestyle change of deciding to go to a sports bar for the games you really care about, you're going to have more fun because you're going to be watching it with other people anyway.
Well, I guess this is maybe the first time I've seen an opportunity come along where I actually might consider it. Like, I'm still kind of in this. I've got a flag firmly planted in the ground that says in bold Helvetica type, I don't want to watch commercials. because those don't work on me. And
it's a very specific flag that you've planted. I look
really
forward to
had
the
to have
photoshops
custom
of seeing this flag.
I had to have it custom made. But I really have held to that, and I don't know why I've held to that. Like, I want to support good programming. I feel like the $35 a month in this case is a pretty good deal, and that the ads will probably be acceptable given that price, and given the selection. If you throw in DVR at some point and you make this as complete a package as possible, this is probably, as Tom said, the most compelling consumer-friendly package anybody has had in this sort of post-cable era.
Well, hold on. PlayStation View is a better deal right now. And Sling TV just became a better deal. Like, Sling TV's cheaper, and we'll get to this. They just announced a cloud DVR of their own. And PlayStation View is sitting there right now saying, Scott, give me your money. I will give you a DVR that you can fast forward through commercials on everything you watch.
Oh,
that's true.
Even that badoop. Like, I don't want to have to touch a button to skip a commercial. Why are these even here?
Fair enough. I'm just saying, DirecTV Now, this offering is really not better than PlayStation, and arguably whether it's better than Sling TV or not.
Well, isn't part of the, and that's a good point, but isn't part of that reason these contracts you're talking about? You're talking about a world where they're not able to have a lot of wiggle room on being competitive. There's not much they can do except say, we're AT&T/DirecTV, and now we got a place in all this, and we've staked a claim, but we're basically the same exact service for about the same price with a couple of differences, but not much, because there is no wiggle room and our margins suck, because that's the way this world works.
Well, what do you want?
And
You want it to be cheaper, or you want it to have no commercials? Like, I'm not quite sure what you're looking for then.
I don't know either. I really don't. Like, I think maybe I have what I want. Like, maybe I get frustrated when these services come online and I go, all right, well, you kind of want me back to the old way. What do you got for me? And they got a few channels that I am interested in, and then a bunch that I don't care about.
You know what?
And then I look at what I'm doing now and I say, all right, well, I got Netflix, I got Hulu, I got HBO Now. I'm getting all the shows I want kind of when I want them, and for other stuff where I got to buy a season or an episode here or there, that's working out okay. And on the whole, I'm spending less, generally speaking, per year than I used to for cable. Here's how
they turn it into a big win for them. They create or finance or pay, some kind of cord cutting solutions website. Hey, do you hate cable? Okay, this is, let's talk about what do you on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate commercials? How much do you hate contracts? How much do you hate this? What programs do you like? Oh, you like Breaking Bad? You like Game of Thrones? Blah, blah, blah. How many are still running? How many in the back catalog and so on? And then it writes a custom prescription for you of which of the cord cutting solutions will get you that for the cheapest. And guess what? More often than not, the solution might end up being like, I don't want to have to think about all the channels that are happening. I have 5 shows that I care about every year, 5 shows plus Netflix. And then if I could tell you the 5 shows and you could say, you'll never have to think about this again, give me $20 a month and you will always have these 5 shows. Then I don't care what the name of that
that's
service is.
That's essentially what PlayStation View does. It's why it's my favorite right now. Is like you favorite a show, which adds it to your DVR, and then there's a big portion of the interface when you log in that says My Shows, and it's got all the shows that you like, and the ones that have new episodes are to the left. And I don't have to go through a guide. I don't have to find things. I just go, oh, there's the latest Star Wars Rebels. Oh,
right.
There's the latest Walking Dead.
But see,
boom,
like usual,
I watch it.
Tom
and the only
speaks rational
downside
truth.
from what you're talking about, Scott, is I will have to fast forward through commercials.
Right. And as always, you speak rational truth in a world devoid of it. And I appreciate that. I think what's showing here is I have a bias, and my bias is I jumped off the train like 7 or 8 years ago. And I said, F you, cable, and I went with the whole new brave world of internet everything, and I've never looked back. And now these companies are creeping back to me going, but what about this? And I think it's my own personal hang-up, something I got to get over or get past. And every time one of these comes out, I just go, oh, that's just like cable. I see what you guys are doing. I'll be fine over here.
You know what it is you left town, you learned to live off the land, and you're now a hermit, and you're like, see, you can live just fine. You can filter through your gym shorts, and then all of a sudden you get clear water. It's okay.
Your fancy plates.
And then they come over.
Pans.
They're bringing it. They're like, oh, they bring the water first. Then it comes the gas and the electricity, and then of course you got to pay taxation for all of it. I don't get it.
I wonder,
no, you're not
actually,
wrong. I think that's
Scott,
accurate.
I know we've talked to you and I've talked to you about Sling TV and PlayStation View before, And I feel like you didn't have this level of reaction to them. And this one's called DirecTV Now. Like, I can't imagine if this was called Comcast Now, how much more that reaction would be. That could be a bigger issue than AT&T suspects for people to say, like, I'm a cord cutter. I don't want to pay DirecTV anymore.
Sure. Not only that, I mean, I'm smart enough to know I can look at it and say, oh, that name doesn't necessarily mean that's who it is, or, whatever. But part of this could be a subconscious aversion to big giant multinational multi-billion-dollar companies telling you where to go and what to do. Well, I feel like there is a little bit of that.
And that's so astonishing to me that it's a trap that we see so many companies go through over and over and over again. They just can't resist putting their name on everything, and it shouldn't be there. When Microsoft got into games, they insisted that they call it Microsoft Xbox. I'm like, I don't think of games when I think of Microsoft. I think of boring applications. Why not have a different name? Lexus from the very beginning is just Toyota. It's just a branch of Toyota. But they've never, ever had the word Toyota anywhere near any of their Lexus marketing.
And what Dish did was said, we're not calling it Dish TV. We're calling it Sling.
Correct.
Because we own that company, and people think of that as a rebel on the internet. So we're going to use that name.
Hey, real quick, Bryce was super sharp-fingered as always, and remember that we have talked about this selector site on The Verge for the cord cutter. It at least you still have to care about channels, but
yeah. So it's like we talked at this. I think came out in 2015, and you pick services, and it kind of tells you what types of content and channels of content you get from different services, as well as an estimate of what your bill would be. I'm sure that this is out of date because it's an interactive and they probably haven't kept up with it. But you pick between, you pick CBS and you get the CBS channel, HBO, and you get that.
Yeah. I haven't removed the Viacom channels from PlayStation. You can see that right now.
Yeah. So it's a little out of date, but this is kind of a tool you could go to if you look up The Verge's the cord cutter. That'll probably get you what you're looking for.
Yeah, I have some other issues with the way it compares. Like, the average basic cable package is $66.
Right.
I'm like, yes, when you include discounts, when people forget to go call and get the discount. Also basic, not HBO. And you're comparing it against HBO. Also Netflix, which you pay for anyway, even if you have basic cable. So keep that stuff in mind when you go there, when you're looking at the numbers. But it can be a useful tool if it's kept up to date.
Yeah.
Another thing that should be kept up to date is your patron subscription, because that's what keeps us going and allows us to talk about Westworld on Spoiler in Time.
Yeah, dude. We've talked about it. My favorite new thing from Patreon is that they give you your very own RSS feed. You no longer have to know, like it used to be that to get early access to Spoiler in Time, you had to go and visit an unlisted video in YouTube, and it was just ridiculous. It wasn't right for podcasting. But I'll tell you what, man. We were at the forefront of the podcasting revolution on Patreon, and they listened. They made it super, super easy. Can't thank you enough. The 1,800 patrons pledging about $1 an episode to keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys are the best.
Thank you. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Now, how to watch now.
Oh, I thought you were like, how to watch what, Tom?
How to watch everything. All right, I'm going to break our segment up into two pieces, even though it's all about Sling TV, because the first one just really is an add-on to our previous conversation. As I mentioned, Sling TV announced a beta of a cloud DVR feature. So I want to talk about that before I get to the really weird Sling TV news. The cloud DVR feature is coming in December. It will not have a 28-day limit, so it's got an advantage over PlayStation Vue there. PlayStation Vue says you can record whatever you want for 28 days. Sling's DVR will say you can record up to 100 hours. It's like you have a certain amount of space on their drive, and you can fill it up. Shows can be stored as long as you want. The oldest shows will be deleted automatically unless you tell it not to. So it works pretty much like all the DVRs you've ever had. The downside is we're not sure all the channels will be available to record. Sling has been kind of vague on that. I've read a couple reports that said it. So that could be an issue. And we've seen that issue on Sling before, where some channels you can pause, some you can't, etc. And participation right now is invite only. So if you want to sign up to be invited to try it out in December, you got to go to sling.com/DVR and give them your email address.
Yeah, dude. There's probably all kinds of embargo. If you use the product, you probably can't let us know. But if we were to get an anonymous tip from somebody who's using the product.
I don't know. I mean, this is a public beta, so
okay.
I'm going to guess no. But yeah. I signed up, so if I get it, I'm talking about it. That's all I'm saying.
Have you guys talked before on the show about the 28-day? That seems arbitrary to me that PlayStation has this 28 days. Why 28?
I mean, again, it's those long-term agreements. It speaks in a language that the old school understands, and they're like,
yeah, all of these TV channels are worried about giving the internet access to its stuff, right? And so DVRs is the thing where like, wow, we don't want people pirating, even though it's stupid. The best thing you can do to stop pirating is let them have a cloud DVR through Sony and store all their stuff there.
Right.
But they get the way they negotiate these deals. Sometimes they're like, well, what if we just limit it to 28 days? You cool with that? So everything on PlayStation is available to be DVR'd because they got this 28-day limit. What it sounds like Sling is doing is saying, we're not going to put a limit. It's going to work just like a DVR, but we'll give on, you can decide to opt your channel out of being recorded.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. It just seems so like a backdoor meeting where somebody said, all right, we'll let them have it for 35. How about 30? Okay, 28. Deal.
It's not a backdoor meeting.
No,
that's just business.
Well, no, he's talking about the curious nature of it being 28 days, that specific set of days. Although most of the metrics, I remember on YouTube a few years ago, they flipped over. They used to do 30-day metrics, but some months are longer than 30 days and shorter or whatever. So they just moved to 28-day metrics. So I think we're just seeing
it's totally it. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hadn't even thought about that, Brian. You're totally that's what it is.
If I DVR 28 days later and then keep it on there for 28 days, can I watch it on
28 days later? No, you cannot.
I'll be honest. Most of the stuff that I use on my PlayStation VR, I just want to watch it within the week anyway. So I don't run up against that. I know it's not a storage device like my TiVo. My TiVo's got things that I like, I'll just store that. So it does change the way you use it.
Right.
So most of this we kind of covered in like, hey, here's another cord cutting service and the weird restrictions you have to deal with. And is it the same as cable or not? How about this one? Sling TV is now going to be an app alongside Netflix, which we've reported before, on Comcast's Xfinity X1 set-top box. So in case this was just too weird for you to believe you heard me right, people who already subscribe to Comcast cable can now access Sling TV's similar service using their cable box.
Okay. 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 I'm sorry. If you want to cut the cord, you can now finally cut the cord while keeping the cord. Is that what that is?
Yes. Okay. The best I can come up with, right? You know, my role in this community we've built is like, let me try to see the other side, right? The best I can come up with is all the press from Sling about this positions it as a way to get multicultural programming. And Dish did merge its international online service, which it had before Sling TV, into Sling TV a while back. So there's loads of international and non-English channels available through Sling TV. You've got tons of Spanish and Chinese and Filipino channels there. And it seems like that's what they're talking about when they say, hey, this is now available on Comcast X1 and Xfinity box. So it's sort of like if you're a Comcast subscriber and you've wanted Jade, but it was too expensive or unavailable from your local Comcast subscription, you can now buy Sling and get it that way.
So EEAN in the chat is suggesting that maybe this is a hack around bandwidth limits, around data caps. Would that be, do you think?
Nope.
Yeah? Okay.
Nope, because there's nothing about this being exempted from data or anything like that. Like, you're still using internet to get the Sling TV, just like you are with Netflix.
Okay. Hey, remember how we just got done saying that a lot of nutty things companies say and do is they don't even believe themselves in, but they're doing it because they know it'll look good to so-and-so who cares about this thing? I think that's a lot of what's happening is that Sling, at some point, Sling was being pitched as a disruptive service, and then somebody in the, the entrenched cable industry was like, wait, what? It's like, no, don't you see? It's just going to grow for all of us. We could even put Sling TV on your cable box, and you'd make money that way.
Yeah. Can you imagine the guy from Dish calling up Comcast like, hey, we want to put our service on your service.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
To me, this is a bit like embedding. What's it like? It's like embedding Netflix inside of Hulu or something. Like it really is a strange. They are very strange bedfellows. All of that being said, can I guess we don't know this, but I would be curious to know that if, I mean, that Xbox Infinity box is no good if I'm not subscribing to Xfinity or Comcast, right? Like that thing's a useless brick.
I mean, it's like a Roku, but with cable built in. Hang on. I guess if you had it, you could still watch Netflix over the internet. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly your cable box.
I mean, that makes sense to me. It is, there's some room in your house that you don't want to buy another Roku for, but you have a cable box on. Because there are people who are like, yeah, I'll sign up for all that stuff. My kids love all the shows. And then there's going to be some corner of Sling programming that you can't access, or you can't be bothered to find out. Maybe you like the UI better or whatever. It's basically a way to dodge buying another Roku.
Yeah, I mean, Comcast is trying to say, hey, don't cut the cord and get Roku. We have all the same great stuff right here on your
you know what?
box.
That bolsters that argument. All of a sudden, that's what they want to do, is for all the people in customer attention. They're like, why? What? How? You want to quit? How are you going to watch your programming? What do you care about? And they're like, oh, I'm going to watch on Sling and Hulu. It's like, oh, well, Mr. Prospect, don't you realize you can get all those on your cable box right now? And I'll do it for an introductory rate of only $12.
I just thought of a comparison that makes sense to me. It just hit me. This isn't all that different to me in terms of the way it sort of shocked my system when I heard about it. When I heard that Apple would start shipping Intel Macs with not only the ability to, but the wherewithal to let people install Windows easily and simply. That was weird at the time, if you think about it. That's a little bit like this. Maybe this is a good sign. Maybe this is homogenization, the coming together, the globalization of these services. The eventual outcome for us is a la carte services with more choice for consumers. Perhaps it's the tip of the spear.
You know what? Yeah. That's actually a really good point, because from the cable company's perspective, they are leaning on that $5 a month rental fee for those cable boxes. They don't want to see that go away, because they've already spent millions and millions of dollars on that infrastructure that it's already installed and running. This is a way to preserve its relevance, and they can just keep getting, whether anybody uses it or not, they need the salespeople to be able to say, oh, but you'll be able to run all that stuff on there.
What if, now this, I'm not saying this is likely to happen, but what if, like you just blew my mind there. What if the next step in retention and the next step in the X1 box is, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Comcast, I have to cancel because I'm moving to Los Angeles and it's a neighborhood that doesn't have Comcast. Oh, well, good news, Mr. Prospect. Just pack your X1 Xfinity box with you. Whatever internet service you get there, your X1 Xfinity will be able to get you your Comcast programming, and all the apps will still work.
Their new USP becomes, their unique sales proposition becomes, everything stays the same. Still your same comfy chair with the butt groove, just like you wore it in.
Because Comcast is trialing internet-only service in their markets right now. Why not expand that out of the market and then sell the X1 Xfinity box to people and say, hey, instant cable?
Man, as jaded and as bitter as we are about this is also kind of wonderful. This, in so many ways, we're now getting exactly what we asked for, the ability to watch. It turns out someone out there does want this nutty Rube Goldberg way to watch what they want, when they want, on the device they want. And now they're getting it. And so we should be nothing but happy for them.
Scott doesn't look happy, though.
I don't think that that's what they meant for it to happen. I'm saying you may be right that it is happening. And also, what a weird backdoor way to get these boxes in homes.
Boy,
in other words, if that's their pitch, if they think that the idea is that Tom could move from LA to San Francisco and take his existing X1 box with him, and that doesn't need to go out and spend another $100 on a Roku or something, that's kind of ingenious. But I get the feeling they don't know that that's happening, and I don't know why. I don't know. I just get this feeling they don't know.
There's so many things that are so uncable like about that. But how smart would it be? Because there's so many people who are like, I know Roku's cheap. I don't understand any of that stuff, but I do understand that I've got this thing. So you're telling me all I have to do is plug it in when I get to the new place?
Yeah. And plus, think about this. There are people who have curated their devices to DVR all their favorite programs and all that stuff. Then just all of a sudden, it's like, we'll save you that 3 hours of hassle of remembering what you care about and setting up all your recordings.
Yeah. Yeah, all your DVR stuff's there. I don't know. It gets more and more interesting the more and more entrants we get into this race here, and that's what Brian and I, like several years ago, were like, hey, one of these days this is going to be a really popular and competitive space, and true,
even in the early days of frame rate, we're like an iPad today before the iPad was invented.
Yeah, I feel like our equivalent to an iPad is about to launch, but I don't know what exactly it is.
You guys started with an overheating 2002 Microsoft tablet that had a fan on it.
Yep. But we knew we were onto something.
All right. The reason we go through all of this is because we want to watch stuff. So let's tell you what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. Under Surveillance.
Before we get to what we're watching, note that The Magicians Season 2 has a new trailer out showing that if you follow the show, they'll be spending a lot of time in Fillory this season. Show returns to Sci-Fi on January 25th. Brian, I know you really didn't get onto this show, but
I just didn't watch it. I love the idea of it. The idea
Not that you didn't like it, you just didn't watch it.
Hogwarts for people who are having sex is great. I think that's a cool idea.
Scott, did you ever watch it?
No, but Brian's description there has me interested. I don't because I don't subscribe to any sort of cable-like services right now. It's not I don't have Sci-Fi in any sort of real-time way. Occasionally something will peek through, like Tom got me completely and utterly hooked on the Expanse book series and the series, which is heading into season 2 soon. So once in a while something will leak out and I'll get it, buy it on iTunes or Amazon or something. But I've been interested in this one, but like Brian, I just haven't gotten around to it. There's so many things on my list and I just haven't done it. But Hogwarts for people who can have sex is fascinating.
I mean, that plus Narnia. Like, and then those people travel.
All right, why'd you have to make it weird, Tom?
No,
that's
it was
like fawns and lions.
I'm not
and
making
whatnot.
it anything. I'm just describing it. That's what happens in season 2.
People coming in and out of closets the entire time. It's great.
All right, I'll kick us off with what we're watching because it relates to what we were just talking about. One of the things that's weird for me, I mean, because of the show, I actually have Sling TV and PlayStation Vue just so I can experiment with both of them. And I have access to FX on both now, but I don't watch The Americans on FX. For some reason, it's just a mental block. And so this weekend, when we had a little extra time because of the holiday weekend here in the U.S., we binged on season 3 of The Americans and caught up to this current season that just finished. And we got to season 4, and on Amazon, which we were watching it, it said, oh, well, now you have to buy it. And I'm like, great. Well, and Eileen was the same way. Like, oh, we'll wait till it comes to Amazon Prime. You know, we're not going to pay extra for it.
Yep.
And I'm not going to bother. This is not one that I want to manage my DVR for either. We'll just watch it once it comes to the service.
Man, I'll tell you what, that convenience thing seems to trump fidelity an awful lot of the time.
Yeah, it really does. The other thing we did is we saw a couple of movies, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. My short review is, if you like Harry Potter movies, you should go see this. You'll enjoy it. If you don't like Harry Potter movies, if someone else wants to go see it, you won't have a bad time. Like it's not the kind of movie that you have to go see. And if you're not really into the Harry Potter universe already, I don't know how, as funny as it sounds, with none of the characters from the Harry Potter movies, I'm not sure how much it stands alone. A lot of the fun of it is knowing the wizarding world of Harry Potter and seeing it in a different light. We also saw Moana, the new Disney movie, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just absolutely adored it. They had a whole panel of folklorists and anthropologists advise them on the story so that they could get like the story of the god Maui as close to accurate as you can in a cartoon. And then they had Lin-Manuel Miranda from Hamilton work on the music. So he wrote the 2 big songs in it. And it's just really, really tight story, really well done. I enjoyed it a lot.
I told you why it's awkward, right? I told you why it's awkward?
No.
You did.
Why is it awkward?
My high school girlfriend is one of the writers on it, and I finally told Bonnie, and she was just like, God damn it. And so now it's like I have to be like, hey, kids, let's go see her. It's just
Listen, man,
awkward.
you can play that off because there's more than one writer.
Yes.
She's not the only one.
Yes.
And they had, like I said, a whole panel of people advising on the story.
Yeah.
This is the craziest reasoning to not see a movie.
I know,
I've ever heard.
and that's just it. It's like, obviously I should take them. It's a good, high quality Disney movie, but it is awkward to explain to the missus because it's like, if I keep it a secret, then it's like super weird. And then it's like, I'm going to like it, but how much should I like it? Before
You
it's
can like
awkward?
it all as much as you want because you know that a panel of folklorists and Lin-Manuel Miranda are responsible for the parts you like.
Like, I imagine you walk up to her and she's like, hey, did you see my movie, Moana?
Come on. You know what I have to do is I have to slyly ask her name one line that you wrote. And then my official review to my wife becomes like, it's pretty good. Except for this one line. I hated it.
I didn't laugh at it.
I was thinking, man, Bonnie would probably write a way better line than this line.
Now, one of the things I loved about it is Maui, the god, is actually not necessary for the main character to get what she wants done. It's more that she needs him to kind of give her the confidence to move forward, and then she realizes like, oh, I can do this on my own. So it's a really cool story in that way.
Right on.
Scott Johnson, what have you been watching?
So I also saw Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
They have two
I'm going to
movies.
agree with you 100% on its likability is greatly enhanced by your either enjoyment or your fandom of the Harry Potter universe. And I do think there's a lot of fan service there. I think it's one of its strengths is it's set in the 1920s. I liked that a lot about it, and I liked the idea that you could see a lot of sort of prequel elements come out in future films. We really had a good time on it. The only complaint I have is I only understood about 60% of what Eddie Redmayne said at any given time during the movie. That guy mumbles like a champ. I love that guy. Don't get me wrong. He's great.
That's funny.
Woo! Hard to understand him. There's that, and I also saw Arrival. I saw Doctor Strange as well, but that's old news now. I saw Arrival in theaters. I'm convinced that will be at the top of most people's Oscar list this year or early next year. I thought it was fantastic, mind-warping, brain-bending, incredibly well acted, touching, smart, great movie in every way. I really don't have anything to say about it that I didn't like. I thought it was fan-freaking-tastic. So if nobody has seen that, they should. And then on the small screen, I have spent a lot of time catching up on this season's South Park, which is maybe one of their best seasons ever.
Wow.
And I'm pretty convinced the way you do that is you just have the world do lots of weird stuff around you, and then you make a show about it every week. So they've been on fire, partly because the world's a little on fire, and it's been working out real good in their favor. So cannot recommend this season of South Park enough.
2016 cooperated well with them, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's nothing but
Brian,
layups.
what you been looking at?
A lot of the same stuff. Westworld, Justified. We'll talk about that in spoiler in time. I watched Movies with Mikey's review of Serenity and Firefly, and it's wonderful. All the stuff that Movies with Mikey does is wonderful, but this one was particularly poignant, and it made me immediately go start watching Firefly. But on my way to go watch Firefly on Netflix, I ended up taking a brief sojourn into Galactica 1980. Which is phenomenally terabad. It's unreal. I loved it. It's hot garbage on a plate. But now, and what I mean by that, like, obviously, you could tell they had budgets. They put money behind it. They knew that everyone had Star Wars fever. But and Glenn A. Larson, of course, has written so many of our favorite childhood things. But normally the spell of something comes over me, and it's not so transparent that it's like, well, this is a way to very cheaply get this done. It takes place in 1980 in Southern California. And also, we're going to go on lots of time travel adventures. And we're going to keep replaying the same stock footage video effects that we've done 18 million times. I don't know. It's if you want something to actively ignore and roll your eyes on, it's that I can't recommend it enough. It was amazing.
Yeah. When you're
Small
looking
note.
at it and you know that the majority of the budget was spent on Lorne Green and his 2 lines of dialogue.
Yes, exactly. And not Apollo and not Starbuck doing their thing. And it's like, well, it's very important that we take these children and we have to disguise them as the natives. So let's make them all Boy Scouts. And then, oh, here's a heavy-handed 3-episode arc about pollution and why it's bad. It's amazing.
It's pretty bad. I've seen it too. I was gonna one thing I forgot to tell you guys that I watched, and I'm a little slow to admit it, but my wife made me sit down and watch 1 or 2 episodes of the new version of Gilmore Girls.
And
All right.
It's all right. It's the same show it's always been. And maybe that's to its credit. I was never a big fan in the first place. She loves it to death, watched it 3 times over. My daughters love it. I get it. They're hitting their demographic real strong. People that like that show really like it. I totally get it. And I guess to their credit, the first 2 episodes I watched, I was like, this could easily have been tacked on to the last episode or the last season of the final stuff that happened years ago, and I would have never known the difference. Everybody's acting the same. That is to say, it's the same sort of writing, the same sort of reactions from everybody. It's filmed the same in the same locations. So I really feel like they probably gave everybody what they were asking for. I just don't think it was me asking. So I think I might be done. Not because it's bad. I don't know, man. Just not into
It's only
it.
4 episodes, right?
Yeah, that's all. So I guess I've seen half of it. Maybe I can muscle my way through the rest. I don't know.
All right.
I'll let you know next time I'm on.
So in the Aftermash Joey category is Battlestar Galactica 1980.
Yep.
The Gilmore Girls Year in the Life is above that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has.
All right.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like Galactic in 1980 is an embarrassment.
It's not the Gilmore guys and just
I think
the
it's. I
diner
think
owner
we're
in his
lucky
own
Ron
series.
Moore even got to do Battlestar Galactica again, given the embarrassment that was Galactica in 1980. So yeah, we're in better shape.
So after MASH is why we've never gotten another MASH. I'm just saying.
That's true.
All right, let's see what Bryce has been on the lookout for.
Hey guys, I got a new release for you. There's we talked about this a while ago when it was announced. It's the Brazilian sci-fi drama 3%. It's kind of a young adult sort of concept. The idea is when you hit 20 years old, you take part of the process. And out of everybody who applies, only 3% of them, 3% of the kids are allowed to pass and go to the offshore, this island paradise, upper class place. It's not even, you don't even really see it in the first 2 episodes that I saw. And it follows a group of kids as they go through challenges, and some of them pass, some of them fail, and you find out about resistance groups that are very anti the process, and you find kind of religious bents that like trust and have faith in the process, which has been going on for over 100 years. You also follow a lot of the administrative, kind of the director of the process, and as he's being audited essentially, because he is the final say of who gets into this new this other civilization. It's really cool, and I think it takes some of the really interesting high tech science fiction ideas of a young adult show. But it doesn't lean so heavily on the romance elements. It really tries to establish these characters with different motivations for being there, and a lot of really nice sort of twists and last minute surprises as these trials go on. I think it's really cool. I honestly think if you are frustrated with Westworld, Brian, you might want to check this out, because it's kind of a similar idea of like trials and high tech meets like have and have not discussions, and it's shot really well. It's kind of I think Westworld is very atmospheric, where this is a little more passionate and kind of excited and sort of raw almost.
Sounds like it's got a little Logan's Run, a little Divergent,
Yeah,
a little bit of The Island, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly. I think it's really cool. I'm definitely gonna keep watching it. There are 8-hour-long episodes now on Netflix. It's in Portuguese, so you will probably want to watch it with English subtitles, but there's also an English dub, which is all right. And there's a Portuguese version of the audio descriptions that Netflix does. A man walks into the room. Those are available in Portuguese.
Dude, I love that they're doing that universally. We've talked about this before, but quote unquote watching Daredevil while riding my bike was a blast. Just hearing it like an hour-long audiobook.
Yeah. Though I don't think the audio descriptions are in English.
No, right, but I love it. But we had talked about how Netflix, all their originals now, like they just do that automatically.
Exactly.
All right, folks, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us so Bryce can take a look at it, cordkillers@gmail.com. Real quickly, one of the things that Brian and I do to keep ourselves going is operate little stores. Now, Brian actually operates a really big store, and I'm gonna give Brian a chance to talk about that in a sec because it's essential for him today. But real quickly, dailytechnewsshow.com/store has mugs and T-shirts and mouse pads and things for my show, Daily Tech News Show, and we are having the very smallest of Cyber Monday sales accidentally because I thought we were going to continue our discount code from last week. And so I tweeted that. And then David Michael, who runs the store, is like, we weren't, but now we are. So go to dailytechnewsshow.com/store and use the code T is for turkey for 15% off on Monday. If it's after Monday, I apologize. That sale is over. Brian, you're like really doing the Cyber Monday.
Oh, yeah, no. Right up until we went live, we were down in the war room handling Cyber Monday. We were cybering each other like crazy. That's what the kids call it, right?
No, not really.
That's
yeah,
not? No.
Yeah. No, that's
Sorry.
I've heard the kids saying that to each other. Yeah.
But anyway, at scamstuff.com, everything's still discounted today. Probably if you're watching live, you got theoretically until midnight. To be honest, probably tomorrow morning I'll take all the prices down. But like some stuff's half off. It's really... Look, you got to buy gifts anyway, and you might as well support independent creators like Tom.
Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Hey man, Amazon says the Grand Tour had more streams in its premiere than its previous best show, Man in the High Castle. Additionally, on Grand Tour premiere day, new Prime membership signups exceeded all previous days, with the exception of their promotional Prime Day. Congratulations to those guys. By all accounts, it sounds like it's a good show, right, Bryce?
Yeah, I like the first two episodes are pretty good.
Right on.
Earlier this year, Google started using Google Cast to refer to the technology that lets you send video from one device to another. So your phone, for instance, used Google Cast to send video to, let's say, your Chromecast or to your Google Cast-enabled television that had Google Cast built in. Well, that lasted 8 months. Hot on the heels of changing the Cast app to be called Home, Google is now using Chromecast to refer to both the technology that used to be called Google Cast and the device, the Chromecast. So your TV will have Chromecast built in now, possibly. However, the developer API is still called Google Cast. Perfectly clear, right?
Clear as mud.
G dongle should be the G dongle and Chromecast.
You know what? I say cut off that whole extra syllable and just call it the G-dong. Let me plug it in with my G-dong.
I
feel like I know someone who's that's their nickname.
I just got a new TV, a 4K TV that I'm using for a computer display, for gaming display, and it comes with this. And because of the name change, I've had to do 2 different firmware updates on this thing.
Oh my gosh!
Because the name changed. That's annoying. So stop doing that, Google.
But suddenly you've got Chromecast built in.
I had Google Cast built in before.
Pasadena, California is among 40 California cities trying to impose a tax on streaming services like Netflix. The cities are losing money that they used to collect from taxes on cable TV services and telephones. Federal law does not allow internet services to be taxed as a utility. Chicago's being sued for its 9% tax on video streaming. And I'm sure that the distinction that they're making is that, we're not taxing the internet. We're just taxing the products you're buying over the internet.
No, absolutely. If the cities were allowed to tax internet service the way they tax telephone and cable TV, we would not be having this conversation. They just would have done that, right? But because they're not allowed to tax internet service, they're like, well, we got to replace this somehow. And everybody's using Netflix instead of cable TV. So I guess we tax that.
Oh, yeah, that's some slippery slope, dude. Because the next thing you know, Cordkillers and TMS and DTNS and the night attack show, suddenly they're all getting taxed because we're all using the internet. That is we don't want to go down that road ever.
Think about it. What if they said, oh, you're not allowed to tax cable television, and the cities are like, okay, we're taxing Bravo and Comedy Central, and like, it's essentially what they're trying to do here. So a lot of this is being worked out in the courts, but I think some new legislation is called for that tries to figure out how cities can get by and not tax Netflix and then Hulu and then YouTube and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, man, you're not kidding.
Legendary has acquired the rights to Frank Herbert's Dune. If you don't know, Alejandro Jodorowsky spent years developing a film starring Salvador Dali and Orson Welles with art by H.R. Giger. The film was never made. Instead, David Lynch was given the rights to the film, or given the job of directing the film. He finished that movie and then removed his name from it because he was so upset with what the studio had done to it. A TV miniseries was created around Dune in 2000, directed by John Harrison and starring William Hurt. That one was okay. It got some decent reviews. So each time we get a little closer to something better for Dune. Maybe Legendary will be the one to bring it home.
Well, first of all, I hope that as well, but I take affront to your assertion that Dune the play on Sci-Fi was better than Dune the movie that I fell in love with as a kid.
Fell in love with it.
Yeah, no, dude, I am an unapologetic fanboy of the original Dune. Sure, even with the bonus scenes and all that stuff, like seeing Patrick Stewart as Gurney Halleck, it was amazing. I loved it.
The movie definitely there was inspiration there. Like there's something there, and the books certainly have a wealth of visual and ideas and things that you could do. Today's the day. Now is the time, and in the right hand, you could make that thing epic. You could bring Herbert's vision to life in a way that had never been done before, and you could do it in a way where people could be a little more confident about it. Studios won't be so uptight about it. They'll be a little bit more willing to try this and be experimental. Like now is the time to make a good Dune property, and as you know, the spice must flow. It's as simple as that.
It's true. It's true.
As you know, the spice must flow. It's like
that's his closing arguments.
Fits, you have to acquit. Like
these are my sick rhymes. So,
all right, let's get to our dispatches from the front. Tim Mathis wanted to pass along a suggestion for an app he uses to keep track of television shows called TV Showtime at tvshowtime.com. It's available for iOS and Android. He says it has an extremely good rating on Google Play of 4.7 with more than 1 million downloads. I use Sidereel for this, sort of keeping track for what's there, but this one is very similar, and a lot of people really like it. So you might want to check it out, tvshowtime.com.
Right on. Martin writes in saying, hey guys, love the show. I'm a proud Patreon supporter, but wanted to throw this out and maybe something other people in the audience may have an answer for. For this Thanksgiving weekend, I was planning on watching some movies with my dad and figured I would do it legally. He puts a smiley face, which I assume means for a change. The problem came when I wanted these in Spanish. Well, it turns out I could not find either the Amazon or Google Play Store to have titles like Suicide Squad in Spanish, Deadpool, or anything other than English. Any help would be appreciated. And P.S. He's a bit of an Apple hater, if that helps color things. I don't have an answer right off the bat. Do you guys?
No, I did a little poking around to see if I could turn anything up. I did find a support page at Google Play that tells you how to change the language settings. So a lot of movies will be sold with multiple audio tracks, and they may be billed as English when you buy them, but they'll have Spanish. Problem is, I then looked at Google Play Store for Suicide Squad, and Martin's right. It just says English under supported audio. So it's hard to tell if that's a hidden feature. I read a lot of people saying, oh, just change the country that you're from in the store, and then the Spanish language versions will show up, or change your default language. But none of them were very straightforward. So I'd be curious if there's anybody out there in the audience, cordkillers@gmail.com. Let us know if there's an easy way and legal way for somebody like Martin's dad to be able to find movies in Spanish.
Right on.
And legally. Not foreign language movies, but like he's saying, like Deadpool and Suicide Squad, just with the Spanish language track.
Yep, and we got one more email from Aaron who says, I just noticed that HBO Now, $15, was cheaper than HBO, $19, added to my mother's Dish account. So I went to cancel HBO through Dish with the intent of subscribing to HBO Now. When I went to the Dish website and tried to drop HBO, I was immediately presented with a dialog box asking if I'd like to keep HBO for only $7.50 per month for 6 months. Now the chicken challenge just takes a few clicks and doesn't require human interaction. So it should be a no-brainer for anybody looking to pay or who doesn't want to pay full price for HBO on Dish. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Good one. Good
freaking
tip.
hate that. Don't you hate that, though? I hate that exists, that's a thing. I know it's been happening over the phone for years. I understand there are tactics to retain customers, and retention matters. I totally get it, but give them $7.50 in the first place.
Well, again, it's a matter of that. It's an acknowledgement that they're wrong in their pricing. Like, we think it's worth $15 or $19, and you say it is not worth that, and then they say, well, will you take it for $7.50? And it's like, yeah, sure. It's haggling. Yeah, you go to a Mexican flea market, you don't haggle. You know, you're not gonna balk and be all like, oh, I don't know, that's awfully pricey, and then he comes down on price. That's a proud Western tradition.
It is a tradition. It's one that bit me in the butt when I was in Tijuana and did not mean to buy a chessboard for way more than I paid for it. So I've been there and I've done that. I just feel like, for whatever reason, it feels like I shouldn't have to haggle over something like this. Like, why isn't it true then that I can't do this with, or maybe I can. Maybe I don't call enough on the heating bill and go, oh, it's a little high this month, guys. I'm gonna switch. Well, I guess I can't switch, but if I could switch, they're gonna go, well, how would you like to only pay 25% of your heating bill?
Never pay retail, Scott.
Ugh. Bugs me.
No, man, I'm with Scott on this one. I don't got time for that. I don't enjoy it. Some people enjoy the process. I don't enjoy it. I just want to know what it costs and budget accordingly. And what this is doing is saying we will subsidize people who are willing to go through this hoop by the people who aren't. So because you're not the person who's willing to go try to cancel and haggle, you end up paying more, and you subsidize the people who will.
Yeah. My mom got this Big Mac cheaper than I did. I would like the next 6 months of Big Mac purchases to only be $2 per Big Mac.
Well, why aren't you a person who likes to haggle? That's your problem. All right. Well, that is it for this episode of Cordkillers. Thanks, Scott Johnson. Let folks know where they can go online to haggle with you.
Oh, there's really nowhere to haggle. You get just the straight deal from me every time. I am the CarMax of internet content creation. If you are interested in what I do or want to know more about what I do, and you're hearing me for the first year and thinking, who is this chucklehead? Head on over to all the places you get podcasts and search for Frog Pants. And if that's not simple enough, go to frogpants.com, go to the podcast page, and you can find all the shows I do. You can find the art I work on. There's all sorts of projects you can follow. And for anything else that happens on the fly, follow me on Twitter at Scott Johnson. And thank you for having me on, guys.
Heck yeah, dude. It's always a blast.
Absolutely. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We will talk to you again next week.
It's a bit ominous.
It really is.
I was hoping that Bryce would just start playing the music.
Hey guys, Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.